Relate to that. Oh yeah, I was thinking that earlier. Okay. Good.
Hold that. Just hold that. Yeah, let's go ahead.
And we've seen people she knew Garrett.
Does it help that big ears?
Yeah, it does.
Okay. That should do it. Thank you. Gotcha. Yeah, I saw that. Oh, Steve, I didn't know you were going to be here. Oh, pretty quiet.
Oh, you're all.
Okay. Yeah, very. I don't. Hey, Dan. Good. You're probably going to see my backside, unfortunately, but there are people here. Maybe I'll turn it this way so that you're not looking at me. I know I'm going to hit my head. Oh. Okay.
Good morning, everybody. Seems like we're pretty well settled in this morning, and not really intentional that I'm trying to get out of teaching Bible study these days. But it's 2 weeks in a row. There's another guest in front of us, and so I'll let him introduce himself to you. But we're discussing and hearing about Christian family solutions, and this is Pastor James Maddock.
Thank you. I don't need a round of applause. Don't get me wrong. Okay. I know you. Okay. Didn't mean to embarrass you, but I knew I'd see you here. Anyway, Pastor James Maddock is my name. I've been with Christian Family Solutions now for 17 years, and the main thing that we do is counseling people. How many of you have ever heard of Christian Family Solutions? Anybody? Okay, very good. At one time, well, our legal name is still Wisconsin Lutheran Child and Family Service, but it's kind of a long name. And plus, we don't only help people in Wisconsin. Believe it or not, folks, in Tucson, Arizona, we don't only help people in Wisconsin, okay? People in Arizona need help as well. And so we are going to talk a little bit about that this morning. And the help that we offer is counseling. You know, one time I made the mistake of saying, raise your hand if your spouse needs counseling. And I don't do that anymore, okay? But, you know, which one of us isn't hurting in some way? Somewhere in our life, probably we could have used or can use a little bit of counseling help from a professional. And we have 110 counselors. And by the way, we need about 20 more today. So if you know of any WELS or ELS counselor anywhere in North America, and that is not an exaggeration, we would love to have their contact information. Currently, the Bethany Lutheran College up in Mankato, Minnesota, ELS, in fellowship with us, they have begun about a year ago a master's level course in Christian counseling. And so we, in another year, will see the benefits of that as their students come through the pipeline. But in the meantime, we are seeing an awful lot of people right now. When it comes to counseling, do you think compared to 5 years ago, we're seeing fewer people or more? Why? COVID has been a big part of it. I'm going to bring a counselor live on the television here in just a minute. He's actually listening to us as I speak. And his name is Dan Nominson, been with us for many, many years. And people always talk about, you know, the COVID and the health pandemic. Well, guess what? We are not only in a health pandemic. We are in a mental health catastrophe. And I'm not exaggerating one bit. We'll talk a little bit about that, the need for this ministry, how people can access this ministry, and answer questions that you might have about it or a related topic. Just a little bit about me. I'm not going to bore you too long, but sometimes people like to know, where is this guy from? I started out my ministry in Findlay, Ohio. Who knows where Findlay, Ohio? Oh my good. Well, yeah, a few of you do. Yeah, you take the freeway out of Chicago toward Toledo, and you get to Toledo, turn right, okay, and you'll run into Findlay, Ohio. There for 17 years, raised our kids there mainly, and then moved to Watertown, Wisconsin. Ever hear of Watertown, Wisconsin? Yeah, okay. I was there at Trinity for 5 years, and then 17 years ago accepted this call, and man, it's a vibrant ministry, and it's a very relevant ministry, and you'll find out, if you don't know already, why I say that in just a minute. First of all, before we begin with Dan, what would you suspect we are counseling people for the most today? This is the class participation part of this presentation, okay? Yes?
Depression and suicide.
Yeah, two very related but disconnected maladies. A kissing cousin of depression is what? I heard it. Anxiety, okay? I'm not going to say raise your hand if you've ever had anxiety, because I think probably every hand would go up. But the next level of anxiety is actually clinical depression, and suicide was mentioned. We're going to talk a little bit about that in a little while. What else? Substance abuse in general. Do you think the pandemic has lent itself at all to that? Absolutely. What else?
Marriage.
Yes, marriage.
From the family law
I'm sorry?
parent. From the family law parent, you know.
Why would marriage, we've always done marriage counseling. Why would marriage be spiking about now? Marriage problems. The answer? They can't get away from each other. Seriously. And underlying issues that were manageable over the years suddenly are front and center, and they become a real problem for couples. And so we're doing an awful lot of that. What else? Maybe what age demographic do you think is really suffering at this time?
Teens.
I heard it.
Teens.
Teenagers, young adults. And Dan's a counselor. He's an expert. I'm a parish pastor. I am not a trained counselor, but I hang out with people like Dan all the time. And I've learned an awful lot about what they do, how they do it, and what they're seeing. So I'm going to bring Dan on now. Oh, and by the way, I live in Green Bay, Wisconsin now. And I was in Watertown until 2 years ago. And so what did I do as I approached retirement? I moved north. Does that make sense?
No.
Except for the fact that we have two daughters and their families that live in Green Bay. So that helps a little bit. So, anyway, I'm happy to be here. Yesterday, I called my wife early in the morning, and it was double digits. Okay, it was 10. Okay, 10 degrees, and so I know you're going through kind of a cold spell right now here, even in Arizona area. But my goodness, this is nice. This is really nice. So nobody has to feel sorry for me. But Dan, you are there, I'm assuming.
I am. Can you hear me okay?
Should I turn it up a little bit? Yeah. How do I do that? Okay. Not this one, I don't think. Say something, Dan.
Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, testing, testing, testing.
Is it getting louder at all?
Yeah.
Can you hear it back there now? Okay. All right. All right. All right, Dan, go ahead.
Yeah, well, thank you, everyone, for taking some time out of your morning today and allowing us to share some information about Christian Family Solutions. As Pastor Maddock mentioned, my name is Dan Nommenson. I'm one of the counselors here at Christian Family Solutions. Been here for 23 years now, I think, with the organization. Love what we do, love our ministry to hurting people, and it's just again, a fantastic opportunity to bring the gospel message to people who are struggling with a wide variety of mental health issues. So very grateful to be here with you today. Can you still hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so, Dan.
And I am coming to you live from a faraway land called Germantown, Wisconsin. So we are way up north here, and if you're kind of familiar with the geography of Wisconsin, we're sort of in the southeastern corner of the state. I guess we're considered maybe a suburb of Milwaukee. Right next to Mequon, where Wisconsin Lutheran Seminary is located, so just in that general area. And I am here at our corporate office, and this is also one of our main clinic locations too. We have 53 clinics in 7 states now, including one that we recently opened just last year in Arizona. So we have a counselor now in Arizona with a clinic in Phoenix, which is excellent to be able to report. So that is a little bit about me and where I am coming to you from today.
Okay. About 12, 14 years ago, when I gave a presentation like this, I would ask people, how many of you use, probably back in the day, Skype? Now it's more commonly, it's Zoom or something like that, or FaceTime. How many of you have ever used technology like this in your personal life or work life? Yeah. 14 years ago, guess how many hands went up? Not very many. It's becoming a household, conversation, and people use it in their work life and also in their personal life to connect with people. We have been counseling this way. Dan, it's about 14 years.
Yeah, since 2008 is when we actually started doing video-assisted counseling.
You don't think of Wells and cutting edge often in the same sentence? We were the first to do this. Okay? Hey. Okay. And we did not know for sure if it would work because we served an awful lot of people up in Wisconsin, Minnesota, Illinois, some in Michigan, but that was all face-to-face counseling, and you have to be pretty close to the clinic to make that drive to get the help that you need. But we had been receiving requests from all over the country. We need help for the members of our church, but we can't be everywhere with the clinic, obviously. And so we thought, this technology is emerging, and let's give it a shot. And Dan, why don't you kind of walk these good people through a little bit of the process of how we decided to try it and where it has gone in the last 14 years.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's just to kind of give a little further information about the history. That was back in 2008. We really wanted to create, I guess, a different way to reach those who were hurting in our Wells congregations and schools, no matter where they were located. There are always 2 big obstacles for receiving mental health care. And the first big obstacle is financial. That's always the first reason that people give, that they can't afford it, they don't have insurance, or maybe it's $20,000 deductible. That's usually why people don't get help. The second reason is finding
a provider. And that was the big problem that we had, right? Because we have WELS counselors, but we don't have clinics located throughout the country. So in 2008, we started a new program called our Member Assistance Program. And in that program, we partner with WELS congregations and schools. And the congregation covers half the cost of our counseling. We cover half the cost of the counseling. So members receive the service at no cost. So we remove that biggest financial obstacle, which is finances. And people can either come to our clinics and use their member assistance program, or they can meet by video. So we first started our member assistance program and video assisted counseling back in 2008. And that has just opened up the doors to access to our WELS members literally around the globe. And it has been amazing to see the growth. What started with just a few pilot organizations in 2008, we're now pushing 800 organizations in our city, and we are taking referrals from pastors and principals literally from around the country and internationally. We do a lot of work overseas, Africa, China, Hong Kong, and we're meeting with people, at various times in various time zones. Again, so that's just a little bit of history. And one of the biggest issues that we dealt with way back when was, will video assisted counseling work? There was very little research done on, the application of our trade with a video modality. So we were actually approved for a professional research study, and it showed that counseling services done by video, the outcomes were actually exactly the same as in person. So there was no difference in terms of the quality of the professional service being provided. It was exactly the same. Now let's fast forward here to 2020 and 2021, and now everyone knows what Zoom is, and now everyone is in the world of telehealth. We welcome all the newcomers to telehealth. We've been doing it for a long time, and we do it very well. But now there is actually quite a bit more research on the effectiveness of providing mental health services by video, and the research is very good. In fact, in some cases, with particular populations or problem areas, the research is actually showing better outcomes by video than in person. So again, this is just our opportunity, because now we are taking referrals from so many pastors and teachers around the country that we can help them with, and it has just helped literally thousands of people over the years.
By the way, if you have questions for me and Dan, like I mentioned before, please don't hesitate to interrupt this presentation. This congregation is not part of the member assistance program, and I'm not here to guilt anybody into anything today, but if you have interest in becoming a partner with us, there are basically two steps. The first step is that you agree that our ministry carries all the liability. That's not a bad deal for the congregation. And then the second step is you agree to pay half the cost as a congregation. And we pay the other half, and how do we pay it? We're a nonprofit. It rhymes with donations. Okay, yeah, seriously. We need about $2 million a year just to break even. And fortunately, there are generous people who care about others throughout the country that are helping us to meet that demand. And so that's what's involved. What happens then if you want to be a partner with us, you simply send in a check maybe for 5 sessions. And then your pastor determines, is the gatekeeper, and will determine who can access us. He contacts us. We get in touch with a member who needs the help, and then you begin to spend down what you have sent to us. And so that's basically how it happens. Yes, ma'am.
I was just curious, in 2008, not a lot of people were doing Zoom. So was this set up like if you had members in a congregation? Did you set this up as like a group therapy initially to be able to address, or how is that done? Maybe you get people who might not even have a computer in their home that would need this.
That was a concern early. Matter of fact, some churches would set up a private room with a laptop so the member could make use of it. We're finding that is needed less and less and less. As far as group sessions, question is, does this modality, Dan, accommodate a group setting? Is that necessary, helpful, and do we do that from a distance like we are today?
Yep, we serve all age ranges, we serve, almost every, travel area. We meet with individuals, couples, families, and we also do group therapy as well by video. And it's a variety of ways that we provide the service. When you're looking at groups, either you can have a number of people connecting individually from their homes into one session, or there are times when we have group therapy at one of our clinics and we bring a couple of people or a few people into that session. So you have half the group there in person and half the group joining in by video. So, again, it just expands the opportunity for care, any way you look at it, and that's what we have seen. And you have correctly identified a number of different problem areas that we're experiencing right now. We could probably sit for the rest of the time here and identify others. There are just so many different challenge areas that people experience, and we know why. We're all broken. We all suffer the impact of sin, and it's impact on us individually and in our relationships. But in my time, again, I've been here for over 20 years, never have I seen us this busy. With this many referrals and this many people requesting service, this is by far, without a doubt, even come close to the numbers of people we have seen in the past. And so it's an outstanding time. In 2019, we submitted 41,000 claims for service. So, when you meet with a counselor, you send a claim to an insurance company. We sent out 41,000 claims. Last year, we had 83,000 claims. That's 2 years. We more than doubled in 2 years. So when Pastor Maddock mentioned we could use more providers, we definitely could. And we want those providers to be, not just anyone, good Christian counselors who adhere to a confessional Lutheran worldview. There are many worldviews in the practice of psychology and mental health. Not all of them align with a Christian worldview, and in particular a confessional Lutheran worldview. So that's just kind of, again, what we're seeing right now.
Question.
Yeah.
How do you handle confidentiality when it comes to people who don't have technology in their own home or have to go out? Usually you go to a counselor, it's you and the counselor in a room, and there is some confidentiality.
Question, Dan, I don't know if you heard that or not, is how do we handle confidentiality if you have to use somebody else's computer because you have none? How does that all work?
Yeah, a lot of different aspects to talk about with that. Obviously, a hallmark of any kind of a counseling relationship or counseling program is privacy and confidentiality. If you can't guarantee that, and you don't maintain that, you're not going to be around too long. So that has to be maintained. So in the example that we're using here today, we're using Zoom, and we don't use free Zoom. We use the health care version of Zoom. We do pay for our licensing, and as part of that process, we have a HIPAA agreement with them, or it's called a business associate agreement, so that all of the work that we do is through an encrypted connection. So it goes from here to there, and it's an encrypted connection. Now, how people access Zoom is they can do that in a number of ways. Typically, you can use pretty much any device that use a laptop, a Mac, You can even pull out your iPhone or your Android device, and we can use that. So it's not too unusual these days that people don't have some type of device that can be used. And again, whatever device they use, it's an encrypted connection. If you don't have a device, we usually work with the school or the congregation so that one can be provided for them at the church, and that's usually done through the pastor or principal or dean at school. And then a private room is identified where there's a PC, a webcam, speaker, and it works pretty slick. We do that a lot with our high schools around the country. We have 24 area Lutheran high schools around the country, including Arizona Lutheran Academy. And at 12 of them, at half of them, we have counselors on site providing services. The other 12, we just provide services by video. And it happens right during the school day, usually during a study hall. And the school kind of designates a small room with the equipment that we need, and they help with scheduling, and the student just connects by video through an encrypted connection with one of our counselors who could be located literally anywhere across the country. So that's, again, very nice because a lot of our high schools can't afford to hire a mental health professional on staff. So we can provide the service either in person or in half the cases, we do it by video.
One of the advantages of not having your own counselor on the campus of your school is that no one counselor has specialty in all the areas of specialty that there are. And so we have 110 counselors and we cover all of the specialties. And so we identify the need, the problem area, and we do our best to match that person up with one of our counselors who has specialty in that area. Okay. By the way, what differentiates us from other counselors or counseling clinics? We are unashamed of the fact that we are a Christian counseling organization. Unashamed. All of our counselors, no matter how well versed in Scripture they are required when they come on board to take an online course in Christian doctrine. It's taught by one of our counselors who was a former professor at our seminary up in Wisconsin, and he teaches them, and some of it's review for people, but they have not been taught in the secular university how to integrate God's Word into the counseling session, and he goes into how and when to do that, and that's vital. I'm not here to slam other counseling groups or individuals, but they're at a disadvantage if they do not integrate God's Word. It's like having somebody with a problem have a seat and feel comfortable on a two-legged stool. The third leg is God's Word, because God has a lot to say about forgiveness, a lot to say about relationships, a lot to say about self-control, a lot to say about hope, peace, personal worth, eternity. He has the bottom line, the last word on all of those topics. And so to leave that out of the counseling session is to really, I would say, shortchange the person who needs the help. So that's not a small part of what we are doing. And by the way, just on a personal note, I can even do this. I'm not a techie. Matter of fact, I'm an immigrant into the world of technology at my age. Now, when I first entered the ministry back in the day, I had just purchased in my final year at the seminary a brand new, shiny, electric Smith Corona typewriter. Yeah, remember those? That's in a landfill in Ohio right now, okay? And so I've had to learn. At home, for example, if I have some difficulty with my own personal technology, guess who I call? Yes, it used to be my kids. And now I call Ethan, and Ethan is 12. A little bit too smart for his own good sometimes. But typically I'll give him a call. Ethan, this is my problem. I'll share the problem. And then he'll think for a moment and he'll say something like, oh, Papa, that's so easy. One of these times, if he says that, I'm tempted to say, Ethan, if you're so smart, how do you spell the word disinherit? But it's nothing for them. It's nothing. And also the next generation, our children's generation as well. But even I can do this, and I'm happy that I'm able to do it. Dan, we're gonna. We mentioned some of the things that we are seeing. We talked about the teenagers. And how about if we spend a few minutes talking about that age demographic? Because it is really an issue. And maybe also bring in the Surgeon General's announcement that I read as well, that he sent out maybe about a month ago to the nation.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think there was a question right behind you as well. I'll give you a little bit of information just on what we're doing with teams, and then we'll take that question there. With the services that we provide, we always track who's coming to us and for what reasons, and we have definitely seen over the past couple of years an increase in our requests for service and our referrals from schools for teens and young adults. That is an age population that seems to be particularly challenged right now, and for a variety of reasons. We can all blame COVID, and I think that there could be some blame shifted in that direction for sure. But I think what COVID probably did more so than not for most people is it really just kind of unleashed some underlying vulnerabilities that had existed before COVID began. So, and with teens in particular, we see the challenges. And Pastor Maddock referred to the U.S. Surgeon General report. Their office issued an advisory, which doesn't happen too often. Advisories are issued when there are significant public health challenges that need the nation's immediate awareness and action. So he didn't get maybe too much press on that. If I were to ask how many of you heard the Surgeon General's advisory, I doubt many of you would have raised your hand. It actually came out in December of last year. And the wording that was used by the U.S. Surgeon General was very interesting. And he used the words that the challenges that our young people are facing are unprecedented, and the effect that these challenges are having on their mental health is devastating. And you don't hear the word devastating used too much in situations like this, but that's the word that was used, is devastating. And when I used to describe the pandemic and the mental health epidemic that we've been having, now I just use the word disaster. There really is it has reached the level of a mental health disaster. In a number of different ways. Usually what we hear about is the suicide rate and the rate of people who are attempting or ending their life. Even prior to COVID, from 2007 to 2018, suicide was the second leading cause of death for young adults. And that's anywhere from the ages of 10 to 24. That's how that age range is measured. It's still the second leading cause of death. By the way, that hasn't changed, or has it? We don't really know yet for sure, because all the statistics of during COVID have not been released, and they have not been reviewed yet. So is it still the second leading cause of death? We're not sure. The first leading cause of death for young people is unintentional injury. So that happens quite a bit, of course, but suicide is definitely increasing. So we have a big challenge with our teams, and if we can keep them in our prayers, we definitely should. We have to make sure that we are getting resources and available counseling services to them in a number of different ways, both in primary prevention and in direct service when the needs appear. I am very happy to say that there are so many congregations and schools who are taking a very proactive approach to helping our teenagers. They are, of course, the future of our church body. But many congregations and schools are taking a proactive approach. You heard me mention before that we support all of our area Lutheran high schools. We have counselors on site at Bethany Lutheran College in Mankato. We have counselors on site at Martin Lutheran College, at Wisconsin Lutheran College. Our seminary uses the counseling services. So they're very aware of our resources, and they're getting that information to those who need it, so that we don't have a situation where someone is in need and there are no avenues of help. So I'm very happy to say that. And then in terms of prevention, we even have congregations now and schools using some of our educational presentations and programs. We have one called Cornerstone, which focuses on resiliency skills, which is extremely important for teens and young adults. For some reason, it seems like when teens and young adults, not all of them again, but many of them, when they face challenges in life, it seems as though their resiliency skills, which are basically how do I handle life, those skills just have vanished. And many of them just develop immediate symptoms of depression, anxiety, and are challenged greatly in an almost incapacitating way, when what we would have typically characterized as routine problems in life. So these resiliency skills are very important for young people. And congregations and schools, we have a program that we can train congregations and schools in to present that information. And it's not just good information for the teens in the congregation, it's for the whole community. It's the stats that I'm talking about here are not well stats. They're society, they're our culture right now. So I'm very happy to see that so many have engaged in this, and we have donors who support this work for us. All of our work that I mentioned at our area Lutheran high school, 24 of them. If there's any student in any of our area Lutheran high school, we will provide at least 3 sessions at no cost. Remember, finances is that biggest obstacle. So we want to remove that. Well, how do we do that? We had donors step up and help us establish an endowment fund, the proceeds from which help to underwrite some of those costs for our teams so that they can get help. Our schools can't always afford it, families can't always afford it, so we have this fund that is being used so that we can help any teenager from our area of high school. Tremendous opportunity again, but as we are looking at this mental health disaster, that fund's getting tapped pretty hard. So the more resources that we have, and the more donors that we have to help us maintain that fund, we would be ever so grateful. So that's probably a long answer there to a short question, Pastor Maddock, but I know we had another question.
Yeah, I'm going to get to those questions right in a minute, Dan, but before I do it, all of you should have picked up, hopefully there were enough of them, our magazine, Healing and Helping, that gets sent out twice a year to update people on this ministry. If you would like to receive that and have mailed to you, I'm going to send around sign-up sheets starting here on this side. It looks like most of you have pens. If you don't, I have some here. And I'm going to start in the back on both sides as well, and kind of work your way toward the middle probably in the time that we have left. And if you prefer not to receive it, you're not going to hurt my feelings, but it's available to you if you would like. So you can start this one in the back. Thank you. All right, questions? Yes, sir. You had a question?
You have one on that side, Kathy?
Yeah.
Not, well, there's a question there, I guess. You were talking about just the importance that this counseling is biblically based, and know that within secular counseling, if you look at many issues, including marriage, but particularly now the transgender issue, there's the not just the advice to affirm, but many times those secular counselors are forced by law to affirm that this child is definitely transgender, and including, helping them get help to get surgeries and things like that. And I mean, it's secular counseling not only is missing God, but it's actually faulty counseling as well. And so I'm just thrilled that you're able to reach so many people. So I guess my question is, what about people that are not attached to a church? Do you work a lot with people that are not WELS? And what is the situation for them financially?
Hopefully you caught that, Dan. A great comment and a good question. We count, of the people that come to our clinics for help, only 20% of them are WELS. And so we look upon this as a real opportunity, almost outreach opportunity. Insurance companies love us because we don't string people along. When they are better, we stop. And insurance companies like that, of course, and they send a lot of people to us. Another part of the question is about the transgender thing. Dan, our approach to transgender is what?
Well, we help anyone that comes to us with any need that they have. It doesn't matter what the problem area is. We are always willing to provide great clinical treatment and combine that with the gospel message and the assurances and promises of God. So whether it's a marriage issue, an eating disorder, a substance abuse issue, problems with sexual identity, everyone needs to hear that they are loved. Everyone needs to be to have someone who's willing to sit and develop a relationship with them, to understand and appreciate that they're being heard and that they're understood. So it's a very astute question, because this is one of the reasons why we have so many counselors coming to us and saying, hey, I'm a WELS counselor in whereverville, and I am working for a clinic, and my clinic has just told us that we cannot use Christianity in our counseling services anymore. And they have, they're done. They don't want to be involved in that. Or they work for a county program or a state program. And again, it's not that there isn't a Christian worldview involved in many counseling arenas. It is that there is an anti-Christian worldview. And that's why so many counselors are coming to us and saying, we need to be part of your organization. This is why it's amazing to see how the Lord just brings so many pieces of the puzzle together for us all the time. When Bethany Lutheran College was considering developing a graduate program in counseling psychology, clinical mental health, they never could have foreseen what has happened in our culture and what has happened with COVID. And all that planning was done years and years ago. This is their first year when they have accepted students. And we could not be more happy, because so many of the people that come out of graduate programs in secular institutions now they're being pulled away in an area of and convinced that Christian counseling has no place in the field. And it most certainly does. It's very much a part of helping people according to their preference and culture. When people come to us, because we are Christian Family Solutions, we're not just family solutions, we're Christian family solutions. They're coming to us because of that in our name. And wouldn't it be horrible for us to say, well, thank you for coming to Christian Family Solutions. We won't be talking about anything related to Christianity in this session, but we'll talk about family solutions. That would just, what's the sense? So yeah, very astute question. And again, this is why Pastor Maddock mentioned we are unashamed of what we're doing, and we're unashamed of standing firm on biblical understanding of how people are helped.
Dan,
Clinical work. Yeah.
Dan, I'm going to have to interrupt you. We have about a minute left.
Oh, boy, okay.
Okay. And before, I'd be remiss in not introducing one of our guests. Steve Zambo works for us. Steve, would you stand up? He's Director of Mission Advancement and is down here with his wife, Beth. And if you have questions after this presentation, Steve will be around. He certainly would be able to answer them or find you the answer. Question before we bring, yes.
Kind of a two-part question. Do you see members and do you accept several different insurance?
We're in a lot of insurance networks, and right now we're in the long process of getting into networks in Arizona. And maybe just to your other question, we welcome non-Lutherans, non-Welsh people. And sometimes churches have actually expanded their what's called the Member Assistance Program that they have as a partnership with us to also include people who they are reaching out to who are not yet part of the church. So that is another possible avenue you have to help people. I'm going to have to bring this to a close because I'm told I also preach in service number 2. Okay? But how about if we give a hand to Dan, who's been with us?
Thank you very much, and I thank you for your time and attention. Hopefully you learned something about Christian Family Solutions. ChristianFamilySolutions.org is our website. Take a look at it, and you'll get more information there. Thank you for being a great host, Steve and Pastor Maddock down there in Arizona, and have a wonderful day.
Dan, quick question though. Just checking on you. Did you go to church at all today?
Yeah, well, yeah. I went to Saturday night church, and that counts too.
Gotcha. I just concerned a little bit, Dan. I know you're in the office right now. So, okay. Yeah, take care. We'll see you back at the ranch. Thank you, everybody. Good morning. I'm good. Yourself?